So the question, just because you're in a hurry, natty or not?
Natty or not?
Yes.
None of your business, natty or not.
Starting off hot. Anyway, you have to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't be that person. Okay, off we go.
Has been the narrative of this country forever.
Has
and
it?
you think
Roe
yes,
versus
the
Wade
white
just
straight
got
male
repealed.
truth.
Abortion was legal in this country for 40 years.
Crime dropped 40% after abortion became legal.
Why is that the case?
It's called a statistic.
Who has the most abortions in America?
Women.
Black people. Is that so? Are you trying to say the termination of blacks in the womb lower crime? That's a very racist argument. Is it not Black Lives Matter or is it African American Lives Matter? It's both. Oh, really? Okay, I thought it was BLM, so I say blacks. Okay.
Hold up, you're saying reducing crime depends on more abortions, and then you throw in race?
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think men can
So
get
you are
pregnant.
denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to violence. Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you, or are they
Absolutely.
also treated like this, where
No,
they're
they're
told
not.
that they're opening up people to violence?
We have a good
by
time in my
questioning?
class. You should join.
I bet.
You might learn a lot.
Wow, I would learn a lot.
His eyes tells us that which type of women she is.
That's right. Men and women are a completely different thing. This is true. Have you ever met a man or a woman? They're completely different.
You can't say you're a cat. It's not a thing. It's genders. It's not saying you're.
Okay, why is that? I don't understand. Why? Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, I won't ask you how old. I will ask you how old you are. Okay, because you're young enough that it's probably not insulting to ask you. So.
I'm 22, so I'm probably gonna be naive, right?
No. Why aren't you 60? Why aren't you 60? Why can't you identify as 60? What is the problem with you identifying as 60?
It's not the same as gender. You can't just.
You're right. Age is significantly less important than gender. You can't magically change your gender. You can't magically change your sex. You can't magically change your age.
Legally change it. People recognize.
You can't legally change your age, by the way.
Obviously, you can change your name. You can change your sex. You can change your identity.
Just because you can do things legally doesn't mean that they are correct.
At least get your facts right before embarrassing yourself that way.
We shouldn't trust all these people, and I'm curious because I noticed in your speech, when you're speaking, you commit a lot of logical fallacies. And I can give you some examples such as composition, division, ad hominems, and, many, many others. And I learned about these in my rhetoric class because my class, which was very, very Republican driven.
I think we have a lot of people that are waiting.
Yeah, of
Go
course,
ahead.
no problem.
Thank you.
I just want to say, why should we trust you? What's the point if you're going to commit all these fallacies? Why should we believe in you?
Okay, well, if you think that anything that I have said today, and just try to stick to the facts and don't focus too much on what you perceive to be logical fallacies, just go look up Margaret Sanger, go look up Lyndon Baines Johnson, go look up the things that I'm telling you, and let me tell you that if you look that up and what you find out is that I completely lied today, then you shouldn't trust me. The reason why I'm standing up here is because I'm confident that I am sharing with people the truth. The reason why I'm still up here, by the way, despite the fact that the entire media, an entire Democratic establishment, an entire BLM nation that was built overnight has been against me. The reason why my audience continues to grow is because when you are for truth and you are for God, who can be against you? You're gonna win.
Those words doesn't make any sense in the end. Nice job using those words that she learned in the class.
Want to tell us what is the wage gap?
Well, it's where women are being paid less.
For what?
Working?
First off, it's been illegal to pay women less for the same job since 1963. Is so prevalent, you would see more people getting fined, sued, and companies shut down. Also, if it was the case, for example, that you could pay a woman, say, 30% less than a man to do the exact same job, companies would exclusively hire women. What is the primary interest of a business? So, as a business owner or as a corporation, if you can save 30%,
right? Because who wouldn't want a 30% discount on labor? Basic business sense, folks.
I didn't know that I was going to be talking to a bunch of illiterate people who don't know how to read.
You're literally 15. What do you know?
You know how to read?
Yes, I do know how to read.
Name 10 books.
Well, I read Game of Thrones. I'm obsessed with the Twilight series. Game of Thrones, the series?
What's the book called? It's not called Game of Thrones.
What book did you just say before that?
She's just trying to come up with a bunch of nonsense and she can't name any actual books.
Oh, shut up, kid!
Wow. Real intellectual discourse here. Nothing like discussing Twilight to prove your point.
Sir, I'm not sure. I didn't misgender you, did I?
Oh, please, go f*** yourself.
Oh, that's not very ladylike.
Oh, now you're misgendering me.
Oh, well, what are you exactly?
None of your business. What are you?
But you said I misgendered you. If I don't know what you are, how can I not misgender you?
Great question. What really you are?
Someone gets rich doesn't mean someone gets poor.
Yes, it does.
Explain
In
that
this
to me.
society, it does.
Explain that to me. When you
someone gets richer-
bought your hat, who got poor?
The people who made the hat.
They voluntarily contributed their labor
did
and they
not.
got paid for it.
No, they did not.
They didn't?
There's workers in other countries who are enslaved to make things that I'm wearing right now.
Then why would you buy it?
Because there's no other options in our capitalist country. There are no other options in our capitalist
That's
country.
totally and factually incorrect. Make your own clothes.
There aren't very many options for that.
Well, so what you're trying to say is you outsource your goods and services in a capital voluntary because you don't want to
it's okay
spend the
for
time to
people
go
to be
make your own clothes.
Basing an entire economic system on capital, on wealth, is not the best for each person in the world.
So you would want to live in a communal society, essentially. But why don't you go live like the Amish right now and go do it? Because they live in a communal society.
That's not the point.
So let me get this straight. You want a world where you can outsource everything, but still complain about capitalism? Sounds like a personal problem.
Can I ask you what you identify as?
Identify?
Ethnicity?
I identify as an American.
Not an African American?
I didn't get elected into my position because of the color of my skin or do any race baiting stuff that...
Wow, a real groundbreaking take. Who knew skin color wouldn't get you a job? Just hard work and merit, right?
How many genders are there?
2.
There are 2 genders. Wow. So you don't believe in transgenders at all?
Well, I think there are.
Whoa, hang on. Whoa. There are 2 genders.
Well, it's taught in.
Well, you say, well, you've literally just launched this huge defense of transgenderism. Now you've eradicated it. There are 2 genders. You mean male and female, right?
There's gender fluidity. Fluid between what? Between different identities, we can choose one.
You see how difficult this is, though?
But it is.
So we've got 2 genders, but a whole buffet of identities?
True, I do have an honorary PhD.
Yeah, so essentially, what are your qualifications for arguing that college is a scam, or really having any economical knowledge at all? Likely the vast majority of the students here know more than you about economics as a whole.
Okay, so, no, hold on, it's okay, guys, it's okay. Who's Milton Friedman?
I have no idea, and it's not important to this conversation.
Who is Ludwig von Mises?
These are all probably economists, and they're the same
who
thing.
is John Maynard Keynes?
Okay, obviously I know who Keynes is.
Oh, obviously, yeah.
He's the most famous economist of all time.
You don't know Milton Friedman?
I mean, that's an economist.
Okay, how about Murray Rothbard?
It's another economist.
F.A. Hayek?
I don't know who that is.
Well, then you just came here and insulted my intelligence. You're right, I barely made it through community college because I was too busy, starting a national youth movement with hundreds of thousands of members.
Hey, hold on.
What he was trying to prove again and again.
A lot about the mental illness and depressed and anxious population in the trans community. But you don't talk about the happy people in the trans community and how these preventative measures of, let's say, like puberty and the surgeries that go for gender affirmation and how these are life-changing and life-saving. I know many people...
How do you know?
Oh, okay. 1 second, if I can finish my conversation.
Okay.
Many people in my life have had these interventions made, and it's saved their lives. I can list dozens of people in my life. So what do you have to say for...
You can list dozens of people who had surgeries and drugs as children and would be dead today if they hadn't?
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. Dozens of people who have had interventions, including gender-affirming, let's say, therapies, hormones, surgeries, that have made their lives better. I'm not saying it didn't force them to commit suicide, but it made their lives better. What do you have to say for the happy trans community?
I guess I would throw back at you first, because the burden of proof is on you on this one. And I'll explain why the burden of proof is on you. Because, as I went over in the talk, for thousands of years, human beings existed, and there was no such thing as trying to medically transition people into another gender. And as far as we know, there was no suicide epidemic because of it. And then in the last few years, people like yourself have come along and said, we desperately need to do this, or people will be in despair and they might kill themselves. So you are making a claim that contradicts common sense, science, biology, also the entire experience of the whole history of the human race. And so what that means is that the burden of proof is on you to support it. And so I'm going to ask you, you said that people need this stuff so they can live happier lives and potentially it'd be life-saving, you said even. Aside from your anecdotes of your friends who told you so, how do you know that?
Okay, so thinking back to when I was 16 in an anatomy class, when I learned that transgender people tend to have the brain structure that confirms their identity that they identify with. And you can look that up. That's a fact.
I will look that up.
Yeah, it's a fact.
I will look that up, but I won't find it.
Yeah.
It's not a fact.
Oh.
It's not a fact.
Should we all pull out Google really quick and look?
So you're saying a trans man has the brain of a woman?
No. I'm saying that a trans man who identifies as a man will tend to have similar brain structure that a cis man would.
And where did you get that from?
Look it up. It's literally, I'm telling you, I learned it from my anatomy class when I was 16. And I looked up the fact before I walked up here because I knew that you would ask.
Okay. That's not true, but it also doesn't answer the question. So let's try to stay focused on one false claim at a time if we can, so we might get bogged down.
Okay.
So you said, you actually started by saying that blocking puberty, which is chemical castration of a child,
Just one example, yeah.
Yeah, is life-saving.
It can be.
How do you know?
Because there are children who have been suicidal that have had these interventions made.
What children? How do you know? And how many children have had that done
Me personally,
and then
I
are
haven't
still
met
suicidal?
children. Me personally, I haven't met enough trans children to answer that question.
Okay.
But I know
You
that
are
the
making-
research exists.
You're making this statement, you're stating it as a fact in front of all these people. There must be a reason, there must be something that you encountered that led you to this rather radical conclusion that to save a child's life, you have to chemically castrate him.
Not every child. No, sir.
Okay, well that is what you just said. The drugs we give to kids for puberty blockers, so-called puberty blockers, originally are cancer drugs used to treat prostate cancer. They're also used to chemically castrate sex offenders and child rapists. Now we give them to physically healthy kids. You're saying that we need to do that or they will die. And so one last time I'm going to ask you, what evidence do you have of that remarkable claim?
I don't think I claimed that every child would benefit from that.
Well, no, I didn't say you did.
Okay,
You said puberty blockers are.
you did.
You said puberty blockers are life-saving. What
I
evidence do you
said
have for that?
they can be. The
how do you
evidence
know?
is the encounters with patients who have had these procedures done, and it has saved their, I don't want to say it saved their lives, but it has made their lives better. I can't confirm whether or not they're alive right this second, but there are children that it has helped. So what do you have to say for the happy trans community who has benefited from these procedures? That's my question.
I guess what I have
for
to
you.
say is that your entire question is built on a whole stack of false premises that you can't begin to even remotely defend. So it's a faulty question from the start. I reject your premise. I absolutely reject.
So let me get this straight. We're saving lives with puberty blockers, but you can't name a single study, like a risky game of medical roulette.